Lisa? Yeah. Uh-huh. Sure. Okay. Right. Hey, folks, we're going to get back underway in a minute, but I am told that there are a lot of sandwiches left. So if you haven't gotten yours yet, please get it. You paid for it. And also, there's enough left that if you're super duper hungry, go get another one, because we've paid for these sandwiches. They're just going to go bad if they don't get eaten. So there you go. If you tried the ham, maybe go back and try the turkey. All right, Terry Smith, if you could work your way up here, assuming you're done eating, that'd be awesome. And then Zoom people, if you can make sure we have Judy Maris Dixon on the Zoomosphere, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Harry, how are you? Yeah, how have you been? You enjoying the convention? Great. And I know Jessica talked to you about this, and I haven't. I'll just basically tell your story. What's that? Maybe, we'll see. Anyway, you'll have about 20 minutes. Tell your story. Just whatever comes from the heart.
Okay. You need to get you in trouble.
Right. So you sit over here on this side, or you can sit over here, or?
Where are you sitting?
I'm sitting right here. And then Mark's to my left.
Yeah. I don't have that big a heart.
I'm going to have you go first, Terry, and then.
Okay.
Do we have Zoom people? Do we have Judy?
We do. Yes, yes.
Awesome, 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 awesome. All right, let's resume. I hope you've enjoyed your lunch, or if you want, another lunch. How about a door prize? I know they were eating their lunches.
We were, but we have a blanket, a nice cozy blanket here. And I'm waiting for a name to be drawn. Brian Smith.
Who?
Brian Smith.
Brian, you here? Yay!
We found him.
All right, can I have your attention, please? We next come to one of the great traditions of an NFB of Colorado convention, my blindness myself. This is an opportunity for our members to tell their stories about their blindness and the role of the Federation in their lives. And it's always a panel where the stories come from the heart. And today we have two great panelists. One of them is an out-of-state visitor, although I'm not so sure anymore if this is the NFB of Colorado convention or the NFB of Tennessee state convention, or Tenorado, NFB of Tenorado, or anyway, Colonesi, whatever. We do have such great, if I could have your attention, such great participation from Tennessee, and I just want to thank all the Tennesseans that are here, the band, a lot of the band. Thank you, James. Thank you, Steve. It's been great. So our first panelist is Terry Smith. He's the president of the NFB of Tennessee. For, I don't know, about 6 or 7 decades, ran the Tennessee Agency. He has been a leader in the area of the Randolph Shepherd program, works with our blind merchants. He was just here in Colorado doing some training with our program, and hopefully it'll take to heart, but we'll see about that. And he's now going to share with you his story, his blindness, himself. Let's welcome Mr. Terry Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for having me here. He told me to speak from the heart. I've been told I have no heart, so it's going to be a short presentation. So those of you who know me know that I'm not bashful behind a microphone, so I enjoy talking. But I never talk about myself. So this is going to be a little bit of a different experience for me to sit up here and tell you my story and talk about where I came from and how I got to where I am and the experiences along the way. I want to talk to you just a little bit about, how I became blind growing up as a child, how I encountered discrimination, and then how my experiences with the NFB. So I was born in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and for those of you who know history a little bit, know that's the birthplace of the atomic bomb. And I was born to a blue-collar working family. My dad worked at that facility. It was about a decade after the war was over, though. So, that's where I grew up. My passion, and I was sighted. My passion was baseball, and there was only one option for me career-wise, and that was to be a Major League Baseball player. That's what I was going to do. I was going to be a Major League Baseball player, and I was going to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. And go Kevin! Hey, Kevin! So at the age of 9, that career path took a little change when a drunk driver hit a car that I was in, and we went off the road, and I was thrown out of the car, and the car fell on top of me, and I was instantly blinded. And probably on the one hand worked out okay because I turned out a barely 5'9", 160, probably didn't have a future in major leagues anyway. But, I was totally blind. And, it was a shock for a 9-year-old. And I was a bitter 9-year-old when it happened. After about a month or two, and all the bleeding started to clear up in my eyes and all that kind of stuff, I started to get some vision back. And so but I have scarring on the macula, which means I have no central vision, and I have damage to the optic nerve, which resulted in partial vision. My parents were amazing. They knew nothing about raising a child with a disability. They knew nothing about raising a blind child. As a matter of fact, they didn't even consider me to be blind. They didn't know anything about it. They didn't have Google back then. They couldn't just Google and find out what to do. They were in a world by themselves, and they tried to do as much as they could. And a long time before it became fashionable to be in the school systems and advocating for your kids, that's what they did. And they made sure that I had access to the things that I needed to function in the public school situation. But they knew nothing about Braille. The Braille is the furthest thing in their mind when this happened, because they knew I had some vision, and so Braille never was mentioned. It was never mentioned to me at any time through my entire educational career, which is one of my great regrets, that I never really learned Braille, because I hear people like President Riccobono over here get up and give his great banquet speeches that he gives, reading from Braille, and I'm envious of that because that was a skill that I never did, conquer because it never was really presented to me. But on the other hand, my parents had high expectations for me. So I come from a background of high expectations. The high expectations were that I was going to do well in school. The high expectations were that I was going to participate in extracurricular activities. The high expectations were that I was going to go to college, I was going to get a job, and I was going to be independent and self-sufficient. And so that was the plan all along. And so, and I owe a lot to them for setting those high expectations for me, which is something we talk about in the National Federation of the Blind all the time. I excelled in school. I went through the 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade in public schools, and I was at the top of the class. And then I go to junior high. 7th grade, at this point, we've moved to Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and the Hopkinsville educators decided they had this great idea. They were going to go to a pod system, and they were going to group you according to your abilities. And so they had A pod through H pod, and A pod and B pod was for the really bright kids. And so if you're an A or B, you got to take the advanced math classes, you got to take a foreign language, you got to take an advanced science curriculum. So that was for the really bright kids. And then you could imagine you go to A, B, C, D, get down to H. And H is, well, that's just not for the people who are the brightest, I guess we'll just say. So I show up to class on my first day, and I find out what pod I'm in, and I'm in H. And although I was the top of my class coming out of elementary school, they put me in H because of my vision. And it was a shock to me to be in a situation where it had been completely reversed. The expectations were set very low for me. I sat in a classroom where literally I watched my teacher have fistfights with other students, and the police have to come to the school over stuff like this. I stayed in H for 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks period, and they came and said, "You don't belong in here." I said, I told you that 6 weeks ago. And so it was too late to get into A and B, but they did move me up to C. And so, which is, I did manage to survive junior high and go on to high school. I went to college at the University of Tennessee. Again, I did take advantage of, recorded books and that kind of stuff. But I went through the University of Tennessee, graduated the University of Tennessee, and had never met another blind person. Never had I encountered and had a conversation with another blind person. And when I graduated the University of Tennessee, I faced my second discrimination, I would call it, in low expectations, is when I graduated from the University of Tennessee, and I had an interest in corrections. And so at the time, the only way you could get a job with the state was to go the political route, and happened to have some connections with the governor's office. And I had an interview, and I sort of went to this interview to be a probation officer, a little bit embarrassed because I knew the guy interviewing me had no choice. He had to hire me. And because the governor's office told him to. And so during the course of the interview, he says, "They didn't tell me you had a vision problem." And I said, "What's that got to do with it?" And he starts making up all of these reasons as to why I couldn't do the job. And I gave him all the reasons I could do the job. And so, but at the end of the day, I did not get the job. He went back to the governor's office, and boom, that opportunity vanished. So I went on into graduate school to get my master's in vocational rehabilitation. And it was there that I started to meet other blind people. We had a blind student, totally blind student in our class. I did projects. I got out, started meeting other blind people, and so I'm 22, 23 years old at this point, and before I've actually started experiencing working with and meeting blind people. I became the director of Disabled Student Services for the Blind at Middle Tennessee State University, a job that I loved and held for 5.5 years before I went to work for the state of Tennessee. That's where, when I was at MTSU, that I first got exposed to the National Federation of the Blind. And the president of the National Federation of the Blind of Tennessee at the time was Lev Williams. I know our Tennessee folks remember Lev, some others may in here. But Lev headed up the Memphis City Schools program for the blind students. And he sent a lot of students to MTSU where I worked. And we developed a relationship, and we developed a bond, and we developed some trust. And so, I got to meet him for the first time. And I went on to become the director of Services for the Blind in Tennessee. It wasn't 6 decades, Scott. It was almost 3. And it was, 28 years. 28 years that I was the director of Services for the Blind in Tennessee. And I always tell people, when I started that job, I was the youngest state director in the country. And when I ended, I was the longest tenured director in the country. I would, if given the choice, I'd rather be the youngest, but hey, I did survive all those years. And during those years, I had a great working relationship with the state affiliate of the National Federation of the Blind. I was not a member of the National Federation of the Blind. I got very active. When the lady from the Department of Education spoke and talking about the politics and all that kind of stuff, it sort of came back to me, all those years there in state government. I know how that worked. But I had such a great relationship with NFB. They always said I was a closet NFB member. And because anything that I needed done in state that I couldn't do, that what she was talking about that she couldn't do, anything I needed done in the state, I got NFB to do it. And then the bosses in the building, I would just say, well, you better listen to those NFB people, they know what they're doing. And so, it was really, it was a great relationship. Now, I want to be upfront and tell you, it was not an approach that was probably appreciated by leadership in the National Federation of the Blind. Dr. Maurer, I don't know if you're listening or not, if he's listening to this today, on 3 different occasions lectured me on not being a member of the NFB. And so, he knew that I was an NFBer at heart, but he wanted me to be on board. In 1995, I was the president of the National Council of State Agencies for the Blind. And if you can flash back to the 90s and you remember, go back and look at old issues of the Braille Monitor, the conflict between Agencies for the Blind and the National Federation of the Blind were very serious at that point. And I was president of NCSAB. Dick Davis from Minnesota said, we need to fix this. And he arranged for me to go to Baltimore. And to this day, the highlight of my professional career was spending an evening in Baltimore with Dr. Maurer and Dr. Kenneth Jernigan, sitting at Dr. Maurer's house and just talking. Well, actually drinking wine and talking. And drinking some wine, eating some food, talking, drinking some wine, talking. And it was an amazing, I'm not someone who is overwhelmed by meeting some people, but actually sitting down with Dr. Jernigan and Dr. Maurer that night was just an amazing experience. And I think we started building the relationship then between state agencies and rehab. There are still issues, I understand, but I'm proud of what we did at that point. I want to fast forward to 2008, and I don't want this to sound political, but I was a candidate for the Rehabilitation Services Administration Commissioner's job with the Department of Education. It was a political appointed position, and I had the support of the National Federation of the Blind when I applied for that position. They were on, and they were on record as supporting it. As Dr. Meyer later told me, he would have supported me a lot more if I'd paid my dues, but so I applied for this job, and it's a political job, and I have to interview. And I go to the Department of Education, I interview with the Assistant Secretary of OSERS. Then I have to go to the White House and interview with the White House liaison. And I'll never forget this. And this is not a knock on President Obama or anything like that. But I finished the interview with the White House liaison, and I thought to myself, I was getting up to leave, I said, I knocked that out of the ballpark. We connected. It was a great interview. I thought, I had just cinched the job, and we got up, and I'll never forget it. She says, "You are at the top of the list." I said, "Great, awesome. That's where I want to be." She said, "But I want you to know," here comes the big but, "I want you to know that," this is the way she said this, "for someone of your kind to get the job, you're going to have to be head and shoulders above number 2. I'm sitting there saying, "My kind, Southern? What are you talking about?" Well, you got to get people from the South, I'm stunned at what she says. And I said, "Well, can you explain what you mean by that?" And she says, "Oh, well, I'm sure you're aware that there's been a lot of criticism that the last 2, 3, 4, whatever it was, RSA commissioners have all been blind. And for us to hire another blind commissioner, they're going to be head and shoulders above the other candidates." And I sat here thinking, wow, somebody in the White House is sitting there telling me that I'm not getting this job because I'm blind. It was an eye-opening experience. So that was the third overt, experience of discrimination that I had experienced. So finally, Kim Williams was president of the National Federation of the Blind of Tennessee, and she twisted my arm. I joined, and looking back, I've got to say, Dr. Meyer was 100% right. I was a Federationist at heart for all those years, but, I thought that because of the position I was in, I needed to have an appearance of being neutral. But then when I look around and I saw, great directors at the time like Alan Harris, most of you know Alan Harris, who is certainly somebody that I valued very much as a friend. And I saw, people like that. I realized that, I had made a mistake, and, I was wrong. And now it is so ironic that I sit in the position that I am now. And I've left the state of Tennessee, and now I work for the National Association of Blind Merchants, a division of the National Federation of the Blind. And I work with vendors and state agencies across the country. And I run into a lot of vendors, and we talk about the National Federation of the Blind and why they're not members of the National Federation of the Blind. And I talk, and they give me some of the same arguments that I used to make that I now know were wrong. And so we have done, and Nikki Gakos is the president of the National Association of Blind Merchants. He's an amazing man. And, we have brought a lot of folks to the National Federation of the Blind through the Randolph Shepherd program because they see what the National Federation of the Blind does. A few years ago, I was asked at the state affiliate to do a presentation on why I'm a federationist. And, I flipped it around. I said, why not be a federationist? Why would you not want to be part of an organization that does so much for blind people in this country, that believes in the abilities of the blind, that sets high expectations? Why would you not want to be part of that? And, when I look back over 20 years when I used to make up those excuses, I don't know how I answered it at that time. Because, I can tell you that the last 10 or 12 years that I've been involved with the Federation has been an amazing experience for me, an amazing journey. I hope Dr. Maurer is finally happy. So with that, that's sort of how I got to where I am today. I've had an amazing life. I've been very blessed. And, it's been an amazing journey, and the journey's not over yet. So, thank you for having me here. Great convention. And come to Tennessee and see us.
Thank you, Terry. That was great. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. That really is a great story. And it took you a while to get where you needed to be, but you're here. You're fully a part of the Federation family, and we are definitely better for it. So before I introduce Judy, I want to ask that Jessica Beecham come up here, please. But now, let's turn to our next panelist, Judy Maris Dixon. She's been a member of the NFB for a long time. She has been an incredibly successful mediator all throughout the world. She has clients that are among the top 50 biggest businesses in the world, companies like United Airlines, the federal government. She's worked with everybody, and she is known in the field as an outstanding mediator. But what she's going to talk to you about today is her blindness and herself and her journey. So she's joining us in the Zoomosphere. So let's give a big, warm Federation welcome to Judy Maris Dixon. I think it was Terry. Hey, Jeff. So this Anastasia Carneal, can you use her name? Yes. Okay. Is she a member now? Is she here? She's not here. Oh. Oh. Hold on a second.
She is unmuted, but something's happening on her end, I suspect.
Judy, yeah, well, I know she was bidding.
I know, we need another incentive.
Judy. We'll try to get you in here. How about a door prize, huh? Well, it might turn into auction time. We'll see.
Yeah, I did. What was the other thing we did? Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a door prize. We're ready.
All right,
So-
door prize.
We are giving away some satin hands, a satin hands kit from Mary Kay, and some peanut butter fudge.
No.
And
Yeah, now who's that going to?
Dan Burke.
Oh! Dan, raise your hand. I'm sure you're listening. I hope you are. You're busted if you aren't. Dan out there? Did he raise his hand? Yay,
All right.
Julie. Give it to Julie. and Julie will bring it to you. Right, Julie? Yeah, all right.
Perfect.
Or if you don't eat it first yourself. Or, do we have Judy yet? Okay. What we're going to do, Marianne, I hope you're done with that banana. I hope it was very appealing to you. Remember, I'm a lawyer, not a comedian, all right? Give me a little room. Yes, punitive damages. That's actually quite creative. Yes, well, anyway. All right, Marianne. Auction, 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 auction. Well, yeah. It's better, yes. It's better. All right, here's Marianne.
Digging out the list. All righty. Okay, Scott says do one, so we're gonna do the thing that is physically biggest on the auction table, so we don't have to take it away, because carrying these things sometimes. I have what is number 14, rounds of Tupperware goodness. It's a Savier bowl set, modular mates, a basket, and the whole basket, the bottom of it is lined with trick-or-treat candy, little small delights. And this is donated by Sylvia Vigil. It's an $85 package. We could start it at $40. Who's the 60? Kat Hanks, okay. Janine, 65. And Janine, this is one of those baskets that you said you like, by the way. We don't have time, but yes, if you get it, you can touch it all you want. And it's too big to haul around if we're not going to sell it. 75 who? Pam Kearns? 75 going once. 80 says Janine. Oh, okay. Gary brought it to her. God bless. Yo. Okay, well, she got desperate enough to show up for it. 75, 80 going once. 85 says Ellie. 90. 90 once. Twice. Taking that basket home to Florida.
Yay, all right.
Do we have Judy back? I have no idea, but we'll get her money. Joined but not getting her.
Huh. Okay,
Maybe she dial in. Tell her to dial
well,
in.
here, let's do this. I don't know if you can hear me, Judy, and if she can't, Marianne, maybe you can text her or call her.
Judy has rejoined, so let's see if we can hear her now.
Okay.
You're unmuted, Judy. See if we hear you. Say hello.
Judy.
Nope,
Oh,
we're
Judy.
not hearing you. Make sure your headset's not muted, Paul Sandoval suggests. There's probably a button on there somewhere if you're doing that.
Oh, Judy.
She's a Zoom expert, except here.
As Cary Grant says, Judy, Judy, Judy.
All right.
Nope. Not hearing.
You're welcome. Okay. So here's what I think we'll do, because it doesn't appear that we're succeeding. No, not right now. How many auction items you got left, Marianne?
For right now,
Yeah.
I have,
I mean, for total.
oh, in total?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Actually, there's 4 on the table.
4 on the table, yeah.
4 on the table right now.
Yeah.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 more so far, 5 more.
Well, you
10.
asked me total.
10, we're at 10 now. Go. Because I don't know.
9 more for tonight, I believe.
9 more for tonight, so good. That's what, including what?
Including the 2 games.
Including the games, yes, yes, yes.
I do want a chance to talk about heads and tails for a second.
All right, hold it. Let's try Judy again. Judy? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to figure this out after the session so that we can hear from you in the morning, Judy. Hopefully we can work that out. We'll do that after our chapter and division reports around 9 o'clock-ish or so. So Marianne, you want to talk to us about heads and tails?
Hold on, I'm just making room over here. Who here likes some Broncos? Oh, wait. I'm here to tell you, I saw the Broncos blanket that you're going to try to win tonight. The Broncos game, yeah, you know, we want you to go there. But you're getting, when you play heads or tails tonight, it's a $20 ticket to play heads or tails. The rules are very simple. You'll be able to do it. Everybody can do it. Little kids could play heads or tails. So everybody who is interested in at least taking home Lisa Bonderson's big, huge Broncos blanket, which is more than enough to cover 2 people at a game. It's also big enough for a good picnic thing. It's fleece on one side, all weather on the other, good quality stuff. So there's the blanket, plus there are 2 tickets to see the Broncos, hopefully trounce, Chiefs. Chargers. Sorry, I am not the biggest football. Baseball's my game. Love you, Terry. But it's a Broncos Chargers game up on the top level where the party people hang out. So please, this evening, if not before, on your way into the banquet, there are a few people who will have tickets for sale. If you've got cash, fabulous. If you don't, have your phone out ready to do some damage or some cards. Make it easy on the folks who are selling these tickets. You are going to regret not being in the game when the game starts. So please buy your tickets on the way into the banquet tonight. You can buy as many as you want, but you do only have 2 hands. But you can also bribe your friends to play for you.
All right. Thank you, Marianne. I understand. Renee, you wanted the floor?
I sure did.
Oh, here you are.
I'm right behind you. Yep, sorry.
Go for it.
Fine.
Right there.
All right, guys, guess what time it is? It's time for another parting gift. Jessica.
Oh. I thought the time was 1:30.
The gifts, they're going to keep coming all weekend long, you know. Scott, we appreciate everything that you've done for this affiliate so very much. You have been a role model. You are such a mentor, and I'm so excited to continue to work beside you. And we have for you a beautiful silver Damascus tie clip from Shaneco. And so every time you clip it on your tie, you can think about us.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I definitely will. I really appreciate that, Jessica. Tie clips are important to me. I'm right now actually wearing one that has the presidential seal. And it was given to me by the first George Bush in the Oval Office when I won a scholarship from what is now called Learning LI. They had a connection in the White House at the time, and they did this nice little ceremony. And even then, that was 1990, Even then, I knew the only reason that I was in that position and could accept a scholarship is because I had the support and love of the National Federation of the Blind. And so that's why this particular tie clip will undoubtedly be very special to me as well. So thank you. All right. I'm now going to turn to, I'm just kind of realizing it now, of course, my last presidential report. 5,865 days ago, I became your president when you elected me to this post on October 9th, 2005. Since then, about 140,763 hours have passed. And if we wanted to talk about the seconds, let me see, that would be, I have it here, 506,775,600 seconds and counting have elapsed. Now, before totally setting aside these interesting statistics, I recognize that I have lived approximately 29.9% of my life as president of this affiliate. More important than this numerical significance, these fascinating numbers cause me to reflect on where we have come as a movement in all this time. And it almost goes without saying that it is important to focus on where we must still go. I must admit that I have been really struggling with this speech. How can I possibly capture the total significance of what we have achieved for one another? How can I possibly portray how much this movement and my relationship with all of you mean to me? I suppose it makes sense to start from the beginning, or nearly the beginning. Some 15,718 days ago, on October 18th, 1978, I went blind at the age of 10. I could talk to you about my first 10 years on this earth, but for our purposes today, those years were not all that remarkable, in that I had the pretty average upbringing of a sighted child growing up in Woodbury, Minnesota. On that Wednesday, some 43 years ago, I had no idea of the immense impact that going blind would have on my life. To the average member of the public, they would listen to these words and likely believe that I was beginning a story of sadness, a story of difficulty, a story of a young life turned tragic. Admittedly, on that dark and dreary day, I did think my life was pretty much over. To this day, the fear and terror I felt when I realized that I was going to be blind the rest of my life are still palpable. At that time, I believed that the truth about blindness was that one would struggle and live a life of poverty, dependent upon the charity of others. Why did I think this was the truth about blindness? It is because that the TV shows I watched as a child showed me that blind people stood on street corners selling pencils and begging for money. I stood in the living room of my childhood home screaming for my parents, crying with a tremendous sense of panic. I thought that even though I was only 10, I had already lived the best years of my life, with only awful ones to come. Now, fortunately, for the last 43 years, I have lived a different truth, a much different life, one filled with love, hope, and the realization of my dreams. In great measure, that is due to all of us in this room and on Zoom today. It is due to the National Federation of the Blind. In many ways, I think my life has turned out better because I went blind. If I hadn't gone blind at such a young age, I don't know if I would have become as motivated as I did to succeed in school. I wouldn't have learned how to solve problems in unique and creative ways, and I certainly would not have met the National Federation of the Blind, which has allowed me to live the life I want in ways I don't think I would have realized if I would have gone down the path of the average life of the average sighted person. Because of the Federation, I have built a successful career as an attorney. I have traveled the world and negotiated an international treaty. I have handled hundreds of important legal cases that have changed lives for the better. I have met wonderful people like all of you. I met my amazing wife, Anna Heat, which led, of course, to our wonderful children, Alex and Emily. And finally, I have the deep honor and privilege of leading this tremendous affiliate. None of this would have happened if that virus would not have taken my vision in 1978. My first 8 years or so of being blind went fairly well because I lost all my vision pretty much right away. They started teaching me Braille immediately and put a cane into my hands right away. I received an excellent education, and I always had the love and support of my family, my mom, Donna, my dad, Chuck, and my brother, Craig. The major piece missing, though, was that I didn't have any positive blind adult role models in my life. Thus, I had no idea whether I could truly be successful or not. That all changed dramatically 12,908 days ago when I met the Federation. In 1986, I was very fortunate to win an NFB scholarship. And I was invited to the national convention taking place that year in Kansas City. When I met my Federation family on June 28th, 1986, I soon realized that I did not have to place artificial limitations on my expectations for myself and that of others, and that I could truly turn my dreams into reality. When I first flew to Kansas City, my full intent was to take the Federation's money and run as fast as I could, because I had been warned about how radical and militant that Federation was, and that I should shy away from it. Instead, I found a new home, and I have been to every national convention since, and I intend to attend every future convention as long as I'm allowed to roam on this earth. I have remained so involved over these last 35 years because the Federation has the energy and spirit which allows us to change the world. I ran for this office because I wanted as many other people as possible to know the life-changing power that exists within our movement. To steal from some of our branding messaging, I am filled with hope, energy, and love by participating in the National Federation of the Blind because my expectations are raised, my contributions make a difference to me and to others, and I can celebrate the realization of my dreams with my Federation family. Together with love, hope, and determination, we do in fact transform our dreams into our reality. So, as I reflect on the last 16 years, I recognize that we have achieved a great deal and that we are closer than ever to realizing our ultimate dream, that of reaching a day when our blindness is just merely recognized as one of our characteristics. A day when blindness is viewed as just a different way of experiencing the human condition. And I know we still have a long way to go, but we have traveled quite far in the last 16 years. And one of the examples of our success is embodied here in this room and elsewhere, our Colorado Center for the Blind. When I became president of this affiliate, the center still struggled in many ways. We had to fight hard to find money. This affiliate supported the center at a very high level, largely because at that time, we had just stopped running bingo games. But in those days, it was not uncommon for the affiliate to give anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000 a year to the center. It was necessary. That's no longer true, of course. Our center is financially stable, prosperous, and if you want to see a sign of health, just look at the way we emerged from the pandemic. We did not suffer any financial harm in any significant way from the pandemic. Yeah, we lost some money because our caseload decreased, but we mostly were just fine. And that's because of the tremendous leadership we have at the center. That's because of the tremendous staff we have at the center, and of course, our wonderful students. Diane McGeorge, of course, founded our center in 1988 and built a great foundation for Julie to build on, and she has done a great job ever since. So why don't we have one large, huge Federation roar for the CCB? Another way that we've made a big difference in the last 16 years is in the area of legislation and policy work. I was looking over my notes for the last 16 years, and I realized that we have in Colorado law, we've got adopted into Colorado law at least 12 major pieces of legislation which became law, and we've consulted on and worked on dozens of others. We have appeared before countless numbers of agencies on every issue from education to transportation, and we've made a huge difference. Now, obviously, I can't talk about all of our accomplishments, but I want to highlight a couple, and these are from the recent past. In 2017, we approached then State Representative Jesse Danielson about adopting a parental Bill of Rights for parents with disabilities here in Colorado. Because at that time, Colorado allowed a court or a child protection agency to remove a child from the home or limit parenting rights on the basis of disability alone. And sometimes even allowed such agencies or courts to terminate parental rights altogether. Jesse couldn't believe this, but we knew it was the reality. So we worked with her and the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition, and in specific, an advocate named Carrie Ann Lucas, who was, I think, the expert on parental rights for parents with disabilities in the country at the time. And we faced a lot of opposition at first, but Carrie and I spent hundreds of hours that we'll never get back negotiating. And we got the bill we wanted, and now I really do believe we have the strongest law in the country protecting parents with disabilities. Now, what is sad is that about a year after we got the legislation passed, Carrie Ann Lucas lost her life. And so another piece of legislation we worked on during the pandemic was getting our law changed to the name of our law changed to the Carrie Ann Lucas Parental Rights for People with Disabilities Act. So it's Carrie's law. Now, the one thing that people didn't really know about Carrie, well, they knew she had multiple disabilities, but she was also legally blind. And she really was a federationist at heart. So it's good to know that Carrie is watching us and understanding that she did some good work down here. But she recognizes that she couldn't have done it alone. The only way that we got it done was, again, because of the National Federation of the Blind. Now, laws are meaningless if all they become are words in some book somewhere. But this law has already made a huge difference to scores of people, countless numbers of people. But we have an example just in the last year. We learned of a young woman named Anastasia Carneal in Colorado Springs. The Child Protective Agency there was trying to take her child away, and in fact was trying to terminate her parental rights. She got a court-appointed attorney, and we worked with that attorney and told the attorney about our law, about Carrie's law. And not only were her rights as a parent not terminated, she gained full custody of the child. Why? Because of the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. The work we do under the Golden Dome in Denver makes a difference. We talked yesterday extensively about our voting rights. Colorado became an all-mail ballot state in 2013, as you know. At that time, we could not participate the same way a sighted Coloradan could. In other words, we could not independently and privately fill out our own ballot and return it. Well, we changed that. A couple of great things happened. First, Curtis and Peggy Chong moved to Colorado. Second, Curtis brought a resolution to this very convention advocating that we change the law in Colorado and allow for us to mark our ballots electronically and ultimately to return our ballots electronically. We passed that resolution because when we pass a resolution, it is our policy and it just doesn't sit around, we work on it. So guess what? We went to our friend Senator Jesse Danielson by that time, and said, hey, we can't realize the protections that the amazing Colorado election system has. We're shut out. And she hopped aboard immediately. And we got the first law passed, allowing us to have our ballots delivered to us electronically, allowing us to mark those ballots using our assistive technology, and then print them out and return them either via mail or you could drop them off at a secure drop box. Well, the problem we didn't realize then was the vast majority of us who are blind don't have printers. Printers really are kind of passé, that old technology. So we decided we need to get the law changed again. And we did this just in this last legislative session, where we changed the law so that we can not only receive the ballot electronically, we can return it electronically. And in this very election, the coordinated election that's going on right now, all of us can do this. And if you haven't voted that way yet, I urge you to vote using this system. Why is Colorado a leader in protecting our fundamental right to vote? It is the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. Another recent victory is House Bill 211110. At the beginning of this year, the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition came to us and said, hey, we want to run a bill that would extend the protections of the Americans with Disabilities Act fully into our law, and we want to expand upon that. And we said, hey, that's a great idea. And they told us this law would apply to all public entities. Public entities are your state government, county governments, local governments, special districts, and so on. But we said, you know what? We have an idea. We think that all the websites of public entities should be accessible. And why don't we make that specifically in the law? And CCDC said, great idea. So we introduced HB 1110. And boy, the resistance we first got was quite staggering. The counties, the cities, the special districts, all were scared that this would cost them a great deal of money and that it would be too difficult to implement. So we worked with them, we negotiated. Ultimately, we agreed upon a 3-year phase-in period, and all of those organizations that represented all of those governments got behind the bill, and HB 1110 became law. And you heard yesterday, of course, about the difficulty we faced at the 11th hour where they were going to pull funding from the bill. We took care of that. Why? Because of you, because of all of us, because of the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. We don't limit ourselves just to the General Assembly. We work on policies and other initiatives, and another recent one is what is going on with the 16th Street Mall project. About 2 years ago, we learned that a total reconstruction of the 16th Street Mall was going to take place. And the idea was that they would make the entire over mile-long length of the mall curbless. And we were concerned that there'd be no way for us to tell whether we were in the pedestrian right-of-way or the transit right-of-way. And you know that the buses that now go up and down the mall are all electric and not very loud, really. And we thought there could be issues. So we brought our concerns to the attention of the various entities that were working on this project. And ultimately, Gary Van Dorn and I became part of the 16th Street Mall Champions Group. And they have been taking all of our suggestions with regard to how to construct the mall so that it is safe and accessible to all. A recent example is they want to build a mock-up of what the mall might look and feel like so that we can test it out, tell them if we can distinguish the difference between the pedestrian right-of-way and transit right-of-way. And they brought some of the materials that they're going to use to our center. This happened just a few weeks ago. And we changed the way they were going to design the mock-up right there in that meeting. So in sometime in early January, you and I will be able to go downtown, close to the actual current 16th Street Mall, and examine this mock-up. So whenever it does get completed, that 16th Street Mall, one of Colorado's true treasures, will be as accessible to you and me as anyone else. And the reason, again, folks, the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. We, about 5 years ago, again, engaged in a major legislative effort to study services for the blind in the state, and in particular, vocational rehabilitation services. In fact, in 2015, we got a special committee, an interim study committee, as they called it, formed in the Colorado General Assembly. And because of our work with the interim committee, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation was transferred from the Department of Human Services to the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. We also got out of that committee work, the law changed in Colorado regarding the Randolph-Shepard program. Now our priority in the state applies to much more than just vending facilities and food facilities. And at first, I think we had a great relationship with the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. And in many ways now, I think they're still doing a number of things right. But we talked a little yesterday about some of the road bumps we've run into. Quite frankly, and I don't mind saying it publicly, our BEP program, our Business Enterprise Program, is a mess. And we're engaging in some efforts to see if we can get it fixed. But let me assure you, if those efforts fail, we will do everything we need to do to get the program where it needs to be. To me, it is sad that we have only 19 licensed operators, I believe, was yesterday's report. Now we have a priority that we could use in all kinds of governmental facilities, but it's being wasted. And so it's clear to me that we have a great deal of work left to do, but we will get that work done. Well, you can clap. Jessica's going to make sure we get that work done. It's not going to be my problem anymore. One of the things that we have done over the time that I've been involved in the NFB of Colorado is really maximize the use of NFB Newsline in our state. In fact, we were one of the first states that implemented Newsline. We got, back in those days, back in the mid-90s, I think it was 1995, you actually operated Newsline from a local location. We did so from our center. And you had to have a couple of computers and a dial-up phone modem and all this other stuff. And we got Newsline going in Colorado, and starting in 2005, we got funding from the General Assembly. Then at $50,000 a year, we have increased it over the years up to now $120,000 a year for Newsline. Why? The National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. Now, I think we need to increase that amount again, but that's Jessica's job. Let me talk for a moment about our Project Literacy. Our Project Literacy not only does training regarding Newsline and signing people up and and helping us administer the program here in Colorado. But it's done a number of other things. It's supported our educational efforts, our scholarship program, and maybe most significantly, Project Literacy led our efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic, established our assistance line, and we helped in the early days of the pandemic dozens upon dozens of blind people with basic things like getting groceries or medicines. That was Project Literacy. Mountain Time at 5 was Project Literacy. As President Rick Obono said the other day, we were the first in the Federation to get on Zoom and start bringing our community into that space at a time when we needed it desperately. I remember those days in the pandemic when it just seemed so dreary, so scary. But I knew what I could do at 5 every day. It was comforting. It was like being at home with my Federation family. That, again, happened because of the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. I want to thank Kevin Worley and his team for all the work they do with Project Literacy. You heard earlier today a discussion of our private school initiative. We know that blind children in our state, or anywhere for that matter, don't receive the kind of education they should. And we've been working with the existing system for a long time, and we've made progress, but there's so much more that must be done. Why are most blind children illiterate? Why are most blind children years and years behind academically? It's because expectations are low and the support is not there. So, just as we did with adult vocational rehabilitation training, we are taking the matter into our own hands. That's why we have established the Private School Initiative, or PSI. Kind of sounds like a TV show or something, but anyway. But this is being led by Michelle Chacon and Anahit Labar. I know her from somewhere. We have started first with our Learning Box projects, where we put lessons together in a box with all the materials, send them out, and get on Zoom and teach kids that their blindness does not have to hold them back, and that they can have fun and they can learn all at the same time. We've established the Homework Club, where we make teachers available to help kids with problem areas in their education or where they need additional support. None of us now knows exactly where this project is going to go, but I do know one thing. When we're done with it, education for blind children in Colorado will be the best in the world. And of course, it's going to be Jessica's problem to get it done. All right. We have been active in what we call the PhD project, preserving historical documents. The ancestor to the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado was the United Workers for the Blind, which actually started in 2013. And as I said, it was a great thing in 2018 when the Chongs moved here, because we got the blind history lady. And she went over to the CCB, into the basement, into the old swimming pool area, and just started rooting around. And she started finding all these old documents going back to 1915. And we've been in the process of preserving all those, digitizing all those. We hope that all of that work will be done by next year. And then we can start cataloging it. We want to work with librarians to have an online searchable collection of these historical documents. They're fascinating. Now, somebody that's been working really hard with Peggy is Julie Hunter. And earlier this year, I think it was in June, she received the Minoru Yasui Community Foundation Service Award. And she was recognized as one of the outstanding volunteers in the Denver metro area. We've known this for decades, but she got some public recognition. There were some news stories about it. So congratulations to you, Julie. Thank you for all your service to us over these many years. And in addition to receiving the award, the foundation granted us an additional $2,000 to work on the PhD project. None of this would have been possible without just the tireless hard work of Peggy Chong. So let's give a huge round of applause for Peggy. Over my tenure as your president, we've done many different kinds of fundraisers. Some of them very memorable, some not so much. The memorable ones to me, of course, are when we first started engaging in fundraising cruises. We did that and raised quite a bit of money. Then we started having a travel raffle where we would raffle off a certificate to a travel agency for like $3,500 worth of travel. But then we changed that to just a pure money, Amazing Colorado raffle, which raised us lots of money over the years. And now, of course, our biggest fundraiser is our 6-Dash, which, to my counting thus far, in just 3 years, and mind you, 3 years during a pandemic, has brought in over $40,000 to the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. I want to thank Jessica Beecham, Maureen Neatfeld, Cody Bear, Kevin Worley, many others for helping us build the 6-Dash. And I know it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And guess what? It's Jessica's problem. It is kind of fun to say that, yes, I must admit. And so congratulations to our 6-Dash team. It really, truly has been tremendous. Let's see. I kind of feel like President Riccobono earlier, there's so much to say, and we have only so much time. So I think I'll skip to the end. It's always a good place to skip to. Let's talk about the transition. Tomorrow, we will elect a new president. I'm not standing aside because I'm no longer capable of remaining your president. I am doing so because now is the right time to bring on the newest generation of leadership. One of the best things we have done as an affiliate is to hire Jessica Beecham in 2012 to serve as our chapter and community development coordinator. Fortunately, we were able to convince her to leave her native state of Tennessee, and I think she has lived here long enough now to dub her an official Coloradan, even though she still has that kind of funny little accent. We don't take leadership casually here in Colorado. After all, we are founded on the great leadership of Ray and Diane McGeorge. They were the foundation of all we became and who we are. And they built such a strong and resilient organization that made it easy for me to keep building. Jessica is bright, talented, passionate, and unstoppable in her determination. She is the right person for this job. I know that you will welcome her with open arms and hearts and with the love the same love you have always given to me. She will definitely make some mistakes, and she will undoubtedly do things differently than I have, and the way Diane did before me. I know one thing, however. Whenever her term ends, she will leave this affiliate stronger and more dynamic than she found it. Our direction is always forward, and our future is always getting brighter. Good luck, Jess. I know you're going to do a great job. Now, here's to the difficult part, the thank yous. There are an sorry about that, going back. Two things. There are an impressive multitude of reasons why our federation is so strong. But I want to highlight two of them, which in my experience as your president tells me are perhaps the most important. First, it is the method by which we change the prevailing and damaging views about blindness. I vividly remember a speech that Dr. Jernigan, one of our great founding leaders, gave to the National Association of Blind Students in 1990, when I wore a younger man's clothes. He pointed out and stressed that we make the biggest difference through individual actions collectively focused. He submitted that it is not the high-profile leaders or the big-ticket events that are the primary reason for changing the narrative. The truth about blindness, it is what you and I do on a daily basis that has the most significant impact. We share the same philosophy and faith in the capacity of blind people, and we bring that into our families, our communities, every day. That is why each and every one of us is critical to the health, to the future of this movement. That is why it gets a little bit easier each day to be blind. Without realizing it, you are changing the world and making it a little bit better place. The second major factor that makes us so strong is quite simple. It is love. We have a love for the philosophy we have collectively built, and we greet it with renewed energy and passion and continue crafting it to spread a positive belief about life as a blind person. We have a deep love for one another. It is a bond that we cannot and must not break. Now to the thank yous. I come now close to the end of the speech. Yeah, you can clap. Yeah, all right. And I cannot leave it, though, without expressing my deepest and sincerest gratitude. There is no way that I can possibly express in words how much your faith in me, support, and love have meant to me. Serving as your president has been the greatest honor and privilege of my life. It's always dangerous to start naming individuals because you might forget some. But I must. First, I want to thank my LaBar family. Without the love and support of my mom, Donna, my dad, Chuck, and my brother, Craig, I would not have been able to get through the first years of my blindness. They were critical to laying a positive foundation on which I could build and improve my life afterward. Over these 16 years, there is no way that I could have served in this role without Anahit, Alex, and Emily. I know that I say this every year, but it is absolutely the truth. They put up with me and make sacrifices so that I can fully engage my duties. I must add that for the last 2.5 years or so, another LaBar has helped me a great deal, or should I say, another LaBaradoodle has supported me. I am talking about, of course, our sweet Mocha, who has been the best pandemic puppy in the world. Thank you, LaBars, from the bottom of my heart. There is no way that I could have held this office without the NFBCO staff. We have had now and years in the past. I want to thank Lorinda Riddle, Chris Foster, and of course, Jessica Beecham for being outstanding staff members and serving our affiliate so well. And although they are not technically NFBCO staff, I also want to thank the staff of CCB, who have been invaluable to my administration and incredibly supportive. In particular, I want to thank people like Robert Dyson, Dan Burke, Julie Deeden, Carol Sprague, and so many others, all of our staff, past and present during these 16 years. You've helped me out tremendously. Last, but certainly not least, there is absolutely no way that I could have done this job without the wonderful, the talented, gracious, and dedicated Lisa Bonderson. We hired Lisa in 2005, right before our state convention. So it's fair to say that Lisa has put up with me from the very beginning of my term as president. And amazingly, don't know how this happened, she has not left. This is more than enough, in my opinion, to make her eligible for beatification. She should be known as Saint Lisa. Lisa, you are the absolute best, and we love you so much. I also want to thank the officers and members of the board of our NFBCO Board of Directors, both current and past. In particular, I want to express a lifetime's worth of gratitude to Diane McGeorge. She believed in me and helped me grow into the person I am now. She knew I would make some mistakes, but she let me go forth and make them. Diane, I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. Kevin Worley, you are one of my very best friends, and you have always been there for me. I can't tell you how much that has meant to me. Love you, brother. Julie Deedon, you have been indispensable to my success, and words can never express how much I appreciate that. There are too many others to name here, but to all current and past NFBCO board members, I thank you so much. I also could not have done all of this without all the tremendous chapter and division presidents and boards, both current and past. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Finally, without all of you, my Federation family, there is no way that we would have accomplished so much. Scott LaBarre, standing on his own, speaking to the world about blindness, doesn't carry much weight. Scott LaBarre, with the backing, support, and love from all of you, that Scott LaBarre can move mountains and change the world. I want everyone here right now, or out there in the Zoomosphere, or if you're reading this later or hearing it later, I want you to know how grateful I am for giving me the highest honor and privilege of serving as your president. I love you all so much. As I come to the close of this, my final presidential report, I am filled with so much love, hope, and joy for the future. We have made some amazing strides forward and have achieved a great deal during these past 16 years. Yet, we also know that there is so much more work left to be done until we reach our goal of achieving real first-class citizenship for the blind in Colorado and throughout the world. We know that first-class citizenship is no longer just a fanciful dream. Our dreams will become our reality. We have touched the flame of freedom, and it has ignited our hearts, minds, and souls. We will never go back to the days of second-class status and hopelessness. Join me, my brothers and sisters, as we greet our future with love, hope, and determination. This is our mission. This is our federation. And this is my final report to you. Thank you. How about a door prize?
All right. Well, We love you, Scott, and thank you so much for everything you've done for us. We have a lovely door prize here of some plasticware. It's a nice big one here.
How about some money?
Oh, we can get you some.
Money, 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 money. I want some money in that Tupperware or whatever it is.
$25.
There you go. Now you're talking my language.
Bradley Stevens. Do we
Are
have
you
a
out there
Bradley
somewhere?
Stevens. Do, 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 do. No?
Anybody out there?
Is he on the Zoom?
Any hands raising? Any virtual jumping up and down?
That's a negatory from the Zoomosphere.
Okay. All right, draw again.
Wendy McGowan.
Wendy, are you out there? Well, I don't see her either. Never will. So, is she out there in the Zoomosphere? Any Wendy jumping up and down virtually?
She's gone to Neverland.
Okay.
Guys,
Draw again.
just want to. Moses Street.
Hey! Moses here.
All right.
Is he here? Yay, Moses! All right, so we got breakout sessions. I know we're running behind, but just get them started whenever you can. The next major event, of course, in this room will be our pre-banquet party, where the Rhythm of the Movement Band will perform once again. There will be a cash bar. And then at 7 o'clock, the gavel will come down on our annual banquet, and we stand adjourned. What? Oh, it's been moved. Is there a second? All those in favor of adopting my final presidential report, please say aye. Those opposed? It passes. All right. And we stand adjourned.